What if I told you the wealthiest 1% don't fall asleep the same way as everyone else while the world drifts off in worry? They use the final minutes of the night as a weapon because the last thought before sleep isn't harmless, it's a command. And that command decides how you rise tomorrow, how you act, and how fast you move ahead of the crowd. You are not just going to sleep, you are programming your subconscious mind. Most people go to bed replaying fears, doubts, and failures. And so they wake with more of the same. But the 1%, they whisper a single sentence before sleep, a sentence so clear, so definite, that the subconscious has no choice but to obey night after night. It carves a new identity. And when identity shifts, wealth follows. This is the bedtime trick that keeps them ahead of everyone else. And tonight, it can become yours. Close your eyes for a moment and picture this. The world outside is silent. The noise of the day has faded, and you're lying in bed waiting for sleep. Most people think this is the time when life finally pauses, when the body rests and the mind shuts off. But the truth is far more powerful. That final hour before you drift into sleep is not the end of your day. It's the beginning of your tomorrow. It's the workshop where your subconscious mind goes to work, building the reality you'll wake into. Think about what usually happens when people close their eyes at night. They replay the arguments they had during the day, the bills they haven't paid, the mistakes they regret. Their last thoughts are drenched in fear, worry, or regret. And then, when they open their eyes in the morning, they wonder why life feels heavy, why they wake up anxious, why their energy is scattered before the day even begins. They don't realize they spent the final minutes of the night handing their subconscious a blueprint filled with lack, confusion, and fear, and the subconscious, faithful servant that it is, obeyed. But the 1% understands something. The rest of the world ignores the subconscious, never sleeps. While the body rests, the mind continues to organize, to sort, to build. It takes whatever material you fed it last and starts shaping it into patterns, beliefs, and behaviors that will guide you tomorrow. Garbage in, garbage out. Prosperity in, prosperity out. That is the law. Imagine a man who goes to bed every night with a clear sentence in his heart: I am the creator of wealth. I think with clarity, and I act with purpose. He repeats it as the room grows quiet. He whispers it as sleep comes. And even when his body surrenders, his mind continues to echo the words. The subconscious accepts the statement not as hope, not as fantasy, but as instruction. And when morning comes, that man rises differently. His choices feel sharper. His posture feels stronger. He notices opportunities he ignored before. He acts with a confidence that surprises even himself. Was it magic? No. It was law. He handed his subconscious the material to build wealth, and it obeyed. Now compare that with the man who goes to bed sighing, I'll never get out of this job. Nothing ever works for me. I'm too tired, too broke, too unlucky. He may think he's just venting, but his subconscious doesn't know the difference. It takes his words as orders. And so, day after day, his life becomes a reflection of the commands he unknowingly gave himself in the dark. That's why most people live the same year over and over again, never breaking free, never rising above They spend their nights rehearsing failure and their days performing it. The hour before sleep is sacred. It's when the conscious guard finally lowers, when the skeptical, logical part of the mind grows quiet. That's when the subconscious becomes open, suggestible, ready to receive instruction without argument. This is why the wealthiest people, the 1% who lead industries and shape destinies, treat this time like gold. They don't close the day with confusion. They close it with command. They don't hand their mind complaints. They hand it clarity, and that clarity compounds night after night into identity, habits, and results that no one else can seem to match. Let me be clear. You are already programming your subconscious before bed, whether you realize it or not. The only question is, are you programming it by accident or by design? If you allow television, social media, or casual complaining to fill your last thoughts, you are letting random noise build your future. But if you silence the distractions, breathe deeply, and speak a sentence of power, you are choosing to become the architect of your life. Think of Henry Ford. History remembers him for building the automobile empire. But what they don't tell you is how often he rehearsed his vision in silence before the world believed in it. He didn't let defeat put him to bed. He let faith put him to bed. He gave his subconscious orders to keep working while he rested. And by the time the world saw his inventions, his inner world had already been convinced of them. The same was true for Andrew Carnegie, who urged young men to write and repeat their definite chief aim before bed. He understood that wealth is first constructed in the mind, brick by brick, word by word, until it's too real not to appear in the outer world. And now I ask you, what are you building in your nightly workshop? Do you go to bed rehearsing lack, planting weeds that will sprout tomorrow? Or do you go to bed planting the seeds of abundance, prosperity, and financial freedom? This is not about superstition. It's not about wishful thinking. It's about aligning with the laws of the subconscious mind. The law is simple. What you repeat with faith in the silence of night becomes your identity. And identity dictates destiny. So tonight, as you prepare for sleep, remember this: you are stepping into your workshop. You are entering the sacred space where the blueprint of your life is drawn. Do not leave it to chance. Do not let fear write your script. Pick up the pen. Choose your sentence. Speak it with certainty. And let your subconscious go to work while you rest. Because when you treat the hour before sleep as the most important hour of your day, you stop being a prisoner of circumstance and start being the commander of destiny. This is the secret. The 1% live by. They don't just work harder during the day. They work smarter during the night. And if you are bold enough to join them, to claim your right to program your mind before rest, you will soon discover what they already know. Wealth is not created in the noise of the morning. It is created in the silence of the night. If there is one truth that separates the 1% from everyone else, it is this: they don't scatter their power. They concentrate it. While most people chase 1,000 desires, the wealthy select one clear aim and hammer it into their subconscious until it becomes law. Not a list of vague affirmations, not a random collection of wishes, but a single sentence, one sentence that defines who they are becoming, what they are building, and when it will be theirs. Why only one? Because the subconscious mind does not thrive on clutter. It thrives on clarity, a sentence that is sharp, definite, and commanding can pierce through every doubt. But a dozen weak statements only confuse the inner world. Most people fail not because they lack dreams, but because their dreams were scattered like broken glass, one piece pointing north, another pointing west, another pointing nowhere. No wonder their lives move in circles. The rich man's sentence, however, is like a spear. It moves straight, with force, with focus. Andrew Carnegie once declared a single aim that became his obsession to dominate the steel industry and build an empire of abundance. That sentence lived in his mind until every decision, every relationship, every opportunity aligned to it. And eventually, the world could not resist. He didn't just work steel, he worked thought. And thought, when condensed into one definite command, creates fortune. You must now understand what this sentence is not. It is not a plea. It is not, I hope to be rich, or maybe one day I will find success. The subconscious ignores weak language. It does not act on uncertainty. It only responds to commands delivered with authority. Your sentence must sound like a verdict, not a wish. It must sound like identity, not désir. It must be so clear that if another person read it aloud, they would know exactly what you are becoming. Say, for example, you long to break free from financial struggle. A weak sentence would be, I want more money. That is a beggar's phrase, and the subconscious treats it as such. But a strong sentence would be, I earn $10,000 every month through services that multiply value for others, and I begin now. Notice the difference. One is hoping, the other is declaring, and only declaration has power. This is why Napoleon Hill spoke of the definite chief aim as the foundation of all wealth. It is not simply a dream written in a notebook. It is a living command spoken aloud until it becomes identity. And once identity shifts, behavior changes, confidence rises, and the world adjusts to match. Your sentence must also include time. Why? Because a command without time frame is an empty order. If a general tells his soldiers, we will march someday, the army never moves. But if he says, we march at dawn, everything prepares. Your subconscious is the same. It must know when, it must know how, and it must believe you have already chosen. And perhaps most important, your sentence must carry certainty. The words must be drenched in belief. You cannot whisper them as if you're asking permission from life. You must speak them as though life has already delivered. The subconscious does not test your claim. It does not question your right. It only asks, is this command definite, and will it be repeated? If the answer is yes, it obeys. So tonight, as you think about your own sentence, strip away the vagueness. Refuse to allow words like maybe, someday, or I hope. Replace them with the language of mastery. I will, I am. I command. Let it describe your aim with precision. Let it carry a date that lights urgency in your spirit. And let it sound so certain that even your doubts feel out of place. Because this is the truth. The man who speaks one sentence with authority every night will rise higher than the man who repeats 1,000 half-hearted phrases. Power is not in quantity. It is in clarity. The subconscious mind is not impressed by how much you speak. It is impressed by how definite you are. Remember this, always your outer world bends to your inner identity. And identity is shaped by language. The 1% know this, and so they protect their nightly sentence like treasure. They do not change it with the weather. They do not adjust it with their mood. They select it once, and they repeat it until it becomes bone, blood, and breath. That is why they advance while the masses remain the same. One sentence. That is the difference. One sentence spoken before bed with faith and repetition. One sentence strong enough to rewrite an entire destiny. Repetition is the sculptor of the soul. It is not the single decision that transforms a life, but the decision repeated until it becomes second nature. Most men think identity is something fixed, a product of birth or background, but identity is written and rewritten every night by the words you allow to echo in your mind. You are not who you think you are. You are who you train yourself to be. And the training ground is repetition. Think about the difference between a man who whispers a sentence once and then forgets it, and the man who speaks the same sentence every night for 90 days. The first man is entertained by the idea, but his subconscious barely notices. The second man is carving new grooves into his mind, pressing the words deeper and deeper until they stop sounding like a dream and start feeling like a memory. And once a thought feels like memory, the body and the mind treat it as truth. This is why athletes rehearse the same movement again and again until it becomes automatic. This is why musicians repeat scales until their fingers move without thought. And this is why the wealthy repeat their chosen sentence until their subconscious moves their life toward it without hesitation. It is not effort alone that creates fortune. It is identity reinforced through repetition. The subconscious is like soil. It does not care what you plant. If you repeat fear, the soil produces weakness. If you repeat doubt, it produces hesitation. If you repeat excuses, it produces a life of delay. But if you repeat certainty, prosperity, and purpose, it produces a destiny that reflects those seeds. The soil is neutral. The harvest is not. Most men fail not because they lack talent, but because they lack rhythm. They speak their aim once, maybe twice, and then drift back into old patterns. They expect change without consistency, transformation without habit. But the law does not bend for the inconsistent. The subconscious does not respond to the casual. It responds to the relentless. And here is the beauty of this law. Once repetition installs a new identity, it no longer feels like work. The man who repeats, I am decisive, I am wealthy, I act with purpose every night, eventually wakes up acting decisively without trying. He no longer forces himself to chase wealth. He simply notices opportunities and moves toward them. He no longer struggles to stay disciplined. He simply lives as a man who is disciplined. The identity leads, and the habits follow. This is what Napoleon Hill meant when he said that thoughts, when repeated with faith, eventually pass into action and become reality. Identity is not imposed from outside. It is built from within, brick by brick, word by word, night by night. And once that identity is built, the outer world cannot resist it. People sense it. Circumstances bend to it. Money flows toward it because money always obeys clarity. Let me give you a warning here. Repetition does not only work for success, it works for failure as well. Every night you replay your mistakes. Every night you tell yourself you're too old, too tired, too unlucky. You are repeating a sentence too. And that sentence is writing your identity just as surely as a positive one would. You cannot escape the law. You can only choose which side of it you will obey. So I ask you, what are you repeating? When the lights go out and no one is listening, what is the sentence you whisper into the silence? Is it complaint, is it regret, or is it command? Because only one of these will free you. The 1% know this secret. They don't treat repetition as optional. They treat it as sacred. They do not ask, "Do I feel like it tonight?" they say. It is law. I will not break it. They understand that the subconscious respects consistency more than emotion. It does not care if you are tired. It does not care if you doubt. It only cares whether you will repeat the order again and again until it becomes identity. And here is the gift once repetition installs identity. Identity drives action without force. The man who believes he is wealthy acts wealthy. The man who believes he is powerful speaks powerfully. The man who believes he is decisive no longer hesitates. He has become what he repeated. And nothing is more unstoppable than a man whose identity and actions finally agree. So let me leave you with this truth. You do not rise to the level of your hopes. You fall to the level of your identity, and your identity is built by what you repeat when the world is silent. Repetition is the hammer. Identity is the sculpture. Your life is the statue that emerges what you whisper tonight. You will live tomorrow, and what you repeat tomorrow, you will become forever. Choose wisely. Repeat relentlessly, because your identity is waiting for the words you decide to make permanent. Words alone are not enough. You can whisper the right sentence every night. But if it comes out flat, lifeless, without energy, your subconscious treats it as background noise. The subconscious does not speak the language of empty syllables. It speaks the language of feeling. Emotion is the flame that burns the words into your soul. Without that flame, repetition is like striking cold iron. There is no change, no impression, no transformation. Think about the moments in your life that shaped you most. They weren't simply words you heard. They were words you felt. Maybe it was encouragement that lifted you, or criticism that scarred you. The power was never in the vocabulary itself. It was in the charge of emotion carried behind it. The subconscious remembers not what was said, but how it was delivered. That same law applies when you command yourself before sleep. Most people fail here. They sit in bed, mumbling their sentences with the same tone they'd use to read a grocery list. Their mind hears it, but their soul rejects it. Then they complain that nothing changed. But the wealthy, the 1%, understand that emotion is not optional. It is the multiplier. They speak their sentence with intensity, with conviction, with fire. They let the words vibrate through their chest until the feeling itself becomes evidence of the truth. Picture a man who declares, "I am building wealth. I act with purpose. I command abundance." If he says it softly, doubting each syllable, the subconscious yawns and discards it. But if he says it with passion, if he fills the room with certainty, if his body feels the heat of belief, then the subconscious locks onto it like an order it cannot ignore. It doesn't matter that the bank account hasn't caught up yet. The subconscious does not care about the present. It only cares about the power of the suggestion. This is why your nightly ritual must be more than words. You must prepare your state. Breathe deeply. Release the noise of the day. Let your body sit upright with dignity. Not collapse into fatigue. Enter the final hour as if you are walking into sacred ground. Because you are. And then, When you speak your sentence, pour emotion into it as if your life depends on it, because it does. Emotion is what turns repetition into identity. A sentence said, "Without feeling is like painting with water. It leaves no mark." But a sentence drenched in emotion carves itself into the clay of your mind. And once the clay hardens, it becomes who you are. Now understand this clearly. You cannot allow negative emotion to be the last voice of your day if you fall asleep replaying anger, guilt, or fear. Those feelings seep deeper than any sentence you try to force afterward. The subconscious does not discriminate. It will accept whatever emotion is most powerful at the gate of sleep. That's why so many people wake heavy. They went to bed with the wrong fire. They fed their future with the ashes of regret. You must reverse this. You must become the ruler of your emotional atmosphere before sleep. Do not wait for the world to calm you. Calm yourself. Do not wait for results to excite you. Excite yourself with vision. Do not let fatigue dull your tone. Speak with energy anyway. Because the subconscious does not obey tiredness, it obeys intensity. John D. Rockefeller, a man who built empires, was known to reflect before bed, not just on numbers, but on gratitude and certainty. He chose to end his day with an emotional state of stability, confidence, and expectation. He wasn't simply thankful for what was, he was thankful for what was coming. And that gratitude, charged with feeling, instructed his subconscious to prepare more of it. That is how emotion multiplies. So tonight, when you speak your sentence, don't whisper it like a man hoping, say it like a man commanding. Let your voice rise above your doubt. Let your heart pound with conviction. If you have to, stand tall. Look yourself in the mirror and speak it until the emotion rises naturally. Because once the feeling is there, the words transform from mere sounds into law. Remember, this emotion is suggestion magnified. It is the fire that turns weak words into undeniable commands. And every night you repeat your sentence with emotion, you are not only training your subconscious, you are training your entire being to live as the man you declare yourself to be. Say it with fire. Say it with certainty. Say it until the echo of your own conviction becomes louder than every doubt you ever carried. For when the subconscious hears passion, it cannot resist. It must obey. What happens in the night does not stay in the night. The sentence you repeat before bed is not just a ritual, it is a bridge from silence to action, from the unseen to the visible, from thought into behavior. That is why the hour before sleep is so critical. It shapes how you will rise, how you will move, how you will decide when the sun returns. Most people don't realize this. They assume that tomorrow will simply be a continuation of today. They believe that their moods, their habits, their patterns are permanent. But the subconscious mind, trained at night, has the power to rewrite the script. It adjusts your energy before you even notice. It primes your choices before you even think. It shifts your posture, your tone, your instinct, and suddenly, you're not walking into the same day. You're walking into a day built by the blueprint you gave your mind in the silence of the night before. Picture this. A man goes to bed repeating, I am decisive, I am bold, I create wealth with clarity. The words echo through his subconscious as he drifts into sleep. In the morning, he wakes to an email offering an opportunity. On another day, he might have hesitated, overthought, delayed, But today, without even realizing why, he responds immediately, confidently, that one action begins a chain of results, new connections, new contracts, new income. Was it chance, or was it the bridge he built in the night? This is what separates the 1%. They don't wait until morning to decide what kind of person they will be. They decide it before bed. They program their subconscious so that by the time their eyes open, the work has already begun. Their mind is already aligned with their vision. Their spirit is already moving in rhythm with their aim. They are not fighting themselves when the day starts. They are supported by themselves. The man who goes to bed in fear wakes in hesitation. The man who goes to bed in gratitude wakes in confidence. The man who goes to bed with a command wakes with clarity. And clarity is the fuel of action. You've seen this before, days when you wake up and everything feels aligned. Every choice seems simple. Every obstacle feels smaller.